Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today. I'm going to talk some NFL, going to talk Chicago Bears, going to talk Justin Fields and Caleb Williams, and what will the Chicago Bears do with that number one overall pick. But before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here already and you haven't done it, please go ahead, click that, subscribe, that, like that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. Give us that like, that 5-star review if you're enjoying the content, and drop us a comment. We appreciate all that. Helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And by the way, we are going to be doing another live show tomorrow evening, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So get ready for that one. Look forward to seeing you all there. All right. So let's get right to it. Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, the Chicago Bears. It's combine time, and it's NFL draft season. And so now, we got all the mystery, all the intrigue, who's going where, what's going to happen. The Chicago Bears have the number one overall pick, courtesy of the Carolina Panthers being terrible this year. And everyone is speculating as to what's going to happen. People are wondering, should the Bears take that number one pick, trade Justin Fields, and draft Caleb Williams as the quarterback of the future, restart the clock for the organization, give yourself 3 more years before you have to worry about paying a quarterback, and avoid possibly passing on 2 generational quarterbacks 2 years in a row, last year being C.J. Stroud and this year being Caleb Williams? Who knows? For me, I have a totally different thought on it, and we'll get to that. But first, let's talk a little bit about it. Justin Fields, I think he was in the same draft class with Trevor Lawrence, and you can go back and fact check me on this, but I was one of the people beating the drum saying that I would have taken Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence. Now, that doesn't necessarily look great today, even though Trevor Lawrence hasn't exactly been a barn burner himself, right? He was supposed to be generational. He was supposed to be the best since Andrew Luck, this, that, and the third. And I never believed that. And there were a couple of reasons why. Don't get me wrong. Trevor Lawrence was outstanding in college. As a freshman, he won a national championship. He carved up Alabama in the national championship game. That said, are we even sure that Clemson should have been there? Should they have played? And the reason I say that in terms of them playing for a national championship is the ACC was an absolutely terrible conference. And Clemson was so far ahead in terms of talent with every other team in the ACC. It was easy for Trevor Lawrence to do what he did. For instance, when he was in college at Clemson, the ACC had 16 5-star recruits in the entire conference. Clemson had 11 of them. So when you are that far ahead talent-wise, it makes it a lot easier for you to just go out there and dominate. Now, that said, you still have to actually go out there and do it. But when the talent is on a more level playing field, well, then you see he's not quite as dominant as everyone thought. So now Trevor Lawrence is in the league, and this is not me taking shots at Trevor Lawrence. I've covered him. I've covered him live. He has won a playoff game, so there's credit due there. And that playoff game was a big-time comeback against the Chargers. I think they were down 28-3 at one point, and then Trevor Lawrence and that defense brought them all the way back, and they won the game. And then they played the Kansas City Chiefs pretty tight. This was not this past season, but the season before. Played the Kansas City Chiefs pretty tight in the divisional round before losing to them. But the point is, I was never that impressed with Trevor Lawrence. And again, he's not a bum, but I didn't think he was anywhere near the generational tag that they were putting on him. And it was my feeling that Justin Fields should have gone ahead of Trevor Lawrence in the draft. Now, that looks pretty silly now based on what Justin Fields has been in the NFL. But if you look at him at Ohio State, everyone is going to say, well, he had tons of weapons, so on and so forth. But he wasn't throwing to wide open guys at Ohio State the way Trevor Lawrence was at Clemson. He was actually making tight window throws. He didn't run nearly as much as people expect him to. And as much as he does now in the NFL, he was really, dicing and slicing from the pocket. So that was one of the things that I looked at and said, Justin Fields, I think this guy is special, and he could be special in the right situation. But he ends up with the Bears. I think he's had 2 or 3 offensive coordinators since he's been in the league. He's had 2 head coaches. So that's never an easy situation for a young quarterback to try to deal with in terms of developing themselves and learning how to play on the NFL level. You've had to learn multiple schemes and all that. So very tough. But we have seen incremental, and I do mean incremental, improvement in Justin Fields over his 3 years in the league. First year in the league, 59% completion. Second year, 60.4. And third year, 61.4. So we do see him creeping up. Now, that said, he's not been put in a position where he has been able to, or I don't know if his coaching didn't trust him or what, or if it's just a scheme, but he hasn't been able to go bombs away in terms of really going down the field. He only averages 7 yards per attempt in his career. Now, again, that could be the scheme. That could be whether or not his coaches trust him to go downfield. That also could be lack of weaponry, right? This year is the first year he really had a number one receiver, and that's DJ Moore, who came over from Carolina in that trade, which got them the number one overall pick last year. Now, speaking of the number one overall pick in the Bears, this year, obviously, they have the number one overall pick courtesy of Carolina. But last year, they also had the number one overall pick. But the problem was this. They could have had C.J. Stroud, who I also had as my top quarterback, not Bryce Young, but that's a different story. But yeah, they could have had C.J. Stroud. They didn't take him. They hung in there with Justin Fields. C.J. Stroud turns out to be a superstar in Houston. Now, at the same time, how quickly a quarterback turns into what he will or will not be also has a lot to do with coaching and scheme. So obviously, C.J. Stroud is extremely gifted, but he also ended up in the right spot. Who knows if he ended up with the Bears, would he have had such a great rookie season? But regardless, so they pass on C.J. Stroud and they draft Justin Fields. And I think that move right there has a lot to do with what the decision will be in terms of whether or not the Chicago Bears draft Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is he's an absolute stud. His talent level is elite. In terms of he's got, at least for the collegiate level, he's got elite mobility. He's got elite arm talent. He can throw in the pocket. He can throw. He can move out of the pocket. He can really throw lasers from off platform and on the move. And Caleb is special. That said, when you start talking about generational, again, he's the best since Andrew Luck. This, that, and the third. I heard Emmanuel Acho from Speak on Fox Sports 1 say that Caleb Williams is the best college quarterback he's ever seen. I absolutely don't believe that. But again, people are entitled to their opinions. And again, this is not me taking a shot at Caleb. Caleb is tremendous, but I don't think he's that. I think there may be some concerns about Caleb. But before I even get to the concerns, I guess my question would be, when it comes to Caleb, other than being insanely accurate, which is a huge, huge thing, right? Other than being insanely accurate, what does he have that Justin Fields doesn't have? Is he more mobile than Justin Fields? No. Does he have a bigger arm than Justin Fields? No. Is he physically bigger and stronger and faster than Justin Fields? No. Now, don't get me wrong. Accuracy is a huge deal on the NFL level. But other than that, which, again, I think accuracy can also be schemed up. Not saying that Caleb needs it schemed up, but if you're Fields and you get him, he has some more weapons, and now you have a clever scheme, he's going to have the opportunity to be more accurate. Why? Because with the scheme, they're opening up openings for him to hit those receivers. Now, again, more accurate on the move. I don't know how much scheming you can do to make somebody more accurate on the move. Like I said, Caleb throws absolute lasers on the move, and so that's something that can't be taught. That's tremendous. But anyway, some red flags about Caleb, some concerns. We talked about his elite physical talent. I'm curious to know about his leadership. Now, we saw in some games where things didn't go his way as a leader. He would sit alone on the bench away from his teammates. He put his towel over his head. He had to be consoled by his teammates instead of being the consoler. He was the consolee. As a leader and a quarterback, I think you should be the guy that should be pulling your troops together and saying, hey, it's going to be all right. Come on, let's get out there. Let's fight till the end. Let's continue to compete. Now, some people are going to say, well, of course, he takes losing hard. He's a competitor. And I respect that. But it's kind of different when you're a quarterback and you're supposed to be that leader. And we also heard interesting comments, not directly taking shots at him, but after the bowl game that USC won that Caleb didn't play in, heard comments to the effect of, it's nice. It's all about the team. So that says to me, does Caleb have some diva to him? Now, I get that if you're a defensive back or if you're a wide receiver, you can have some diva to you, but I don't want diva in my quarterback. I want a leader. I want a humble guy. I want a down-to-earth guy. That's what I want. we threw around the name Andrew Luck a lot, right? Because when you hear these quarterbacks coming out now, they say best prospect since Andrew Luck. But that's exactly what Andrew Luck was. He was humble. He didn't have any diva. He'd just go out there and he would lead. And I kind of like that type of attitude in my quarterback. But again, maybe that's just me being old school and not realizing that guys are different now. And I got to respect the guys are different now. Also, in terms of red flags and concerns, it's just... It's weird to me. There's the painting the fingernails with the profanities pointed at the other teams, etc. Like, I'm not really cool with that. I don't understand what that's about. That's kind of weird to me. And now, hopefully, he stops that in the NFL, being the guy and being the number 1 overall pick, man. But you never know. These are just little things, and I'm not saying that they would make or break him as number 1 overall pick. Most people see that he's that guy, number 1 overall, but so be it. So. It's interesting when you listen to the mainstream sports media and you listen to different scouts and analysts and stuff like that. I'd say it's probably about 60-40, 65-35 in favor of keeping the pick and drafting Caleb Williams. Me personally, what I would do, and this is just me, obviously I'm not a scout or a GM, I would trade that number 1 overall pick. I really would, because you trade that pick with the hype that Caleb Williams is getting, you're going to get a haul for him from most teams, right? And so I trade that pick and I load up around Justin Fields and I see him continuing to improve and get better. Now, of course, in life, everything is a gamble. That's a gamble, right? But I trade that pick, load up around Justin Fields. I get another receiver, right? Maybe I grab Roman Dunze. Now I have Roman Dunze and I have DJ Moore. And I have I have Cole Kmet at tight end. And then maybe I draft a running back. Maybe I draft Audric Estime out of Notre Dame if he's around in the 3rd round. Or maybe if he's around in the 3rd round and Harbaugh hasn't snatched him up, I draft a Blake Corum out of Michigan, right? So now I get a running back. And then maybe I try to shore up the offensive line. Maybe if I can, I grab a Joe Alt. I mean, it depends on where the pick falls, right? But you have an opportunity to do some things. Or maybe you just continue to trade back and just load up. Or maybe you get a couple of established players in the league already. Who knows? But the point is, you get Caleb more weapons, you shore up the O-line, and then, not Caleb, I'm sorry, you get Justin Fields more weapons, you shore up the O-line, and you really have an opportunity for this guy to be special. Now, here's where the gamble comes in, and here's where the problem is. You already missed by not taking C.J. Stroud last year. What happens if you trade away the pick, Caleb Williams becomes a superstar this year, and Justin Fields never hits? Everybody in that organization is getting fired, right? Everybody's getting fired, and Justin Fields takes the blame, and it was just a botched move. And that's tough because the Bears have never been great with drafting and developing quarterbacks. They just haven't historically. But, I mean, do you believe in Justin Fields enough? And now here's the other problem. Here's the financial piece of it. Caleb Williams or any quarterback that you draft, whether it's Drake May or Malik Neighbors or Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix Jr. I'm just throwing out the names of the top quarterback prospects. But the point is, any one of those guys you take, you have them on a low money contract for at least the next 3 years before you got to think about paying him. Justin Fields, let's say you trade it away, you load him up, and then he has a great year this year. You have to pay him after this year, because if you keep him, he's on the 4th year, so you're picking up that 5th year option. So you got to pay him after this year, right? And now you don't have that time. But if you trade him away and you draft a rookie, you have 3 years. So you've reset your team's clock, and you've also given yourself some breathing room if you're in the Bears front office. Again, I guess it depends on how badly you're trying to win and what you're looking to do. But for me, I don't know. I'm not quite sure about Jayden Daniels because he put up a lot of numbers, but I think he's physically slight, and I'm worried about, whether or not he could take the pounding in the NFL. Drake May, not sure he's ready or if we've seen enough. He's a big guy, big arm. He's kind of like, I want to say like a Josh Allen light. That's kind of what it is. But who knows if he's going to be that? Because if he couldn't even dominate in the weak ACC, who knows what he may or may not do in the NFL. Jayden Daniels, Drake May, I'm not a believer at all in the next level in J.J. McCarthy. I'm not saying he's a bum. He did exactly what he was asked to do in his scheme. He's another guy who's kind of slight. He doesn't have elite arm talent. He's moderately mobile. And we didn't really see him do much of anything from the quarterback position this past season because the defense was so great and the running game was so great over the time that he's been a starter at Michigan. Now, he wins, right? He wins. So we can say that he's a champion. He wins. He seems to be a leader. He doesn't make the stupid mistakes. He doesn't have the diva mentality about him, but I guess he can't really have the diva mentality because he hasn't done anything to show. So there's that. Bo Nix, not even going to talk about him just because I simply don't believe in him. Michael Penix Jr., I think might be crazy with the Bears because, man, that guy can really air it out. He's got a big arm. I don't think the cold weather is going to bother him because prior to playing in Washington, he played in Indiana, so Big Ten is not going to kill him. He can deal with the snow. He can deal with the cold weather, but I've seen some mocks have him kind of ending up in the second round or near the bottom of the first. So we'll see what happens to Michael Penix Jr. But yeah, at the end of the day, my thing is trade the pick because if it's Caleb, you get a haul and load up around Justin Fields. That's if you're willing to take the gamble in terms of the money. So this is going to be really interesting. At the end of the day, the question is, what will the Bears do? So what I want to know from you is, what do you think the Bears should do? You think they should trade the pick? You think they should trade Justin Fields? You think they should start over? You think they should show Fields one more year and give him the opportunity by loading up around him? Leave your comments in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you. Can't wait to talk to you next time. And remember, we got a live show tomorrow night, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So hope to see you there. And I'm out. Peace.